Welcome back to another battle report, folks. Another Bagration matchup. This game is kind of themed as the hunters versus the killers, or the killers versus the hunters, depending on your perspective. And by that I mean some German tank killers, tank hunters, see I'm confused already, against Soviet tank killers. I don't know if that's just purely semantics or if there's an actual designation there, but that's the theme. So we have got a German Bagration list and a Soviet Bagration list, and we're going to be playing one of the new missions. More about that in just a minute. So let's have a look at the list first. So the German list is based around a Panzer Grenadier formation, 2 platoons of infantry, company command, and they've all got Fausts now as part of their base cost, and 4 heavy machine guns. Then they've got 4 Pak 40s in support, 3 Panzer 470s, 3 Panzer 4s, 3 Wesps with an observer. Now here's a question for you folks, something I thought about when I seen the Bagration book and the releases coming out, and after I've seen the points values for things too. Is there a future for Pak 40s in your German Bagration lists? That's 15 points, and for 16 points you could get 4 Mortars. Now there's obviously a balance to be had of survivability between their 3 up and the Mortar's very sort of nominal kind of armour rating, but you know, Mortars can shoot and scoot, they can blitz up, they can get out of artillery bombardments, but these guys are just stuck. So they may be more survivable, but they're less manoeuvrable in a game of manoeuvre. What do you think, folks? Let me know in the comments. Are you going to keep using Pak 40s? Or are you going to go for cheaper options, believe it or not, like 88s, you know, because they seem to be a bit cheaper in the version 4. So let me know your thoughts. So these guys, it's quite a strong looking force, are going to be up against Hero Tankovies. Now, I've showed this list before. I've used it actually in a game, and it was against Panthers. What we have is a core formation, which is company command with the red flag there, and then 3 platoons of 4 Hero T-34s, 85s, and a platoon of 6 mortars, platoon of 5 plus Commissar Hero SMGs, a wee wild card which is an observer for the mortars, and 4 Su-100. Now, as you may have seen in the previous game, these guys, they don't have the reroll that they had in version 3, but they are careful with veteran skill, so they can blitz into position quite reliably and shoot and scoot out of trouble quite reliably. And the hard hitting anti-tank 14, only rate of fire 1 knob anti-tank 14, I think it's 9 points armour on the front. Not too bad. It's going to be an interesting fight. 5 of them up against 3 of these. Whether or not they'll actually go toe to toe remains to be seen. But we thought we'll get them on the table. The equivalent, you know, the battle of the flat tops, shall we call it, and see how the game plays. So there's the 2 lists. Now let's go over to the mission. So the mission is Encirclement, one we've not played before. As you can see, it's quite different in terms of the deployment zones. The I suppose the most significant thing is the objectives can be kind of right in the middle of the table. You can see just try and get my finger and jump right there. You know, so the defender is potentially going to be put right in the spot, but at the same time the attacker's coming from 2 different sides and isn't concentrated. They may find themselves subject to flanking shots if they go for that central point. These small deployment zones also could be an issue. It's not going to be with the list that I'm using, but you know, I have seen, I think it was in the counter-attack mission, you know, where if you imagine the attackers squeezed into a corner about that size. I once seen a game where somebody had a horde Soviet force, and to deploy them all, they basically had to line them up edge to edge and fill up the entire deployment zone. And then when it was turn one, it was like the sort of proverbial cockroaches when the lights turned on. These guys just had to scatter in every direction, and so there was no meaningful attack. You just had tried to get out of as much guys out of artillery templates as possible. So small deployment zones can be a bit of a problem for an attacker. It won't be for me here, but my force will be split into two, so that's quite interesting. So there's challenges for both the attacker and the defender here. So let's just scroll down a touch, special rules. So we can see ambush for the defender, minefield for the defender, and scattered immediate reserves. So if you're not familiar with the scattered reserves, corners, table edge, corners. This is something that's confused me in the past. Sometimes it looks like it's corners, but it's actually a long table edge on the side. So can be a bit confusing. There is one thing to note though, for minefields, which is different from other missions. It's one minefield for every 50 points. So there's only 2 minefields in this. So that's reassuring for me as the attacker in this game. Maybe not so much for Brian as a defender, but it means the minefields won't potentially be quite so dominating. And objectives go live in the normal way, straight away. Nothing else funky. It seems, I'll do a quick double check before we start. The most significant thing about this is only 2 minefields for a 100-point game and a weird and wonderful deployment zone. So Brian has to decide which end of the table he wants to defend, which could be quite tricky considering it's a new mission. So we will do all of that, get deployed, come back, and then get kicked off on turn 1 after that. That took a little while for us folks to even lay out the deployment zones, but that's us deployed. So let's go over a few things. So first of all, Brian's on that side, I'm on this side. My deployment zone is, that's 16 inches in from the corner, and over there. And now I can't have less than 40 or more than 60% of my force in either of the deployment zones. At a rough guess, that's about 49 points there, and the rest is over there. So, Brian's deployment zones, right? So, we've got various things going on here. I should really get different colours for these guys, but for the objective deployment zones for future games. But you can see a line going along to here, then up to here. That's 4 inches over the halfway line, and then back. That's, by the way, 20 inches from the back, and right the way along. That's Brian's sort of short T-shaped deployment, and then 12 inches in, 8 inches up, and then coming up to here, then to the halfway line. So it's 4 inches of deployment available in front of the objective, and then back and along, and then once again that's 12 inches from the side, 8 inches from the back. So there's a hell of a lot going on. So before we go over how things are deployed, I'm going to remove all these deployment zone markers because you won't see anything past all these markers. So I'll get them away and then we'll show you where we've put our units. Okay, that's better. So deployment, starting with Brian. He's got heavy machine guns to protect his flank, company command beside them, platoon of infantry. Now he's not any further forward because of that. That's my ranged in marker. He's put minefields here. He's put his own ranged in marker over there. Then he's got a platoon of infantry plus the Panzer III observer and the Wesps behind that hill. He's got Pack 40s in ambush and in reserve the Panzer IVs and the Panzer IV 70s. And incidentally folks, I've got a Panzer III observer kit on the go. You'll see that, hopefully, maybe even in the next couple of battles. You never know, folks. So, it's quite thinly spread, to be honest. This is where the bulk of his forces are, because he's worried about me just squashing in there. I've obviously got to worry about his ambush, but we'll see. Over here I've got my mortars. They have got an observer who you can see up there and over there, and that's going to be as much as he needs to be able to see for the range that they're going to have. There's a bit of dead ground behind here, but I can see more, objective and objective, so that's probably all they need to do. Then I've got 2 platoons of 4 T-34-85s, company command, the Hero SMGs. Then I've got SG-100s and a platoon of T-34-85s. And as you can see, they're pointing towards that objective. These guys are pointing towards that objective. I'm not entirely sure if I'm just going to charge at it. Might work. There's very little on the table, but our reserves are rolled for straight away, and they could come in a position where they get right around my flank. It's not so much a problem when you've got T-34s, because their armour is just about the same on the side as it is in the rear. Oh, and these guys are only front armour 7. I was saying 9 before, but they're 7. So they're not really going to do much in a way of saving against the Panzer 470Vs. A couple of points on terrain, by the way. Tall terrain, so you've got to be within 2 inches to be seen or see through. And the hedges are not tall terrain. They're quite big and chunky, but they're just hedges. Nothing unusual with the hedges. So there you go, folks. We are ready for turn 1. So we'll come back after the Soviets kick off the game. Soviet turn 1. In terms of movement, stayed still, moved up but not within 2 inches of the tree line. There is a slight gap that they might be seen through, but not all of them. These guys dashed from behind where the tanks are, and these all stayed still. Not the most aggressive set of movements, but I'm going to try and unleash hell, as the saying goes, with some shooting next. The mortars, with the company commander, because it's actually got a better viewpoint than the observer, going to range in here. They will need 5s to range in. Oh well. Sorry, Brian. So, we worked out before, and that is basically everybody in this platoon that's been hit. So I'm just going to roll 7 dice. Just roll 7 dice. Well, that's okay. Right, so that's the mortars done. Ranged in though, that's the important bit. And then I'll go and do some firing. There's lots of dice to be rolled here, so I'm just going to roll them and tell you what happens with the T-34-85s and the SU-100s. So I'm playing it cagey. With these guys, they did not shoot. I'm going to stay on the ground. They're careful, so it's going to be hard to hit them. These guys fired. 2 platoons of 4. Managed 3 hits between them, needing 7s, but Brian made the 2 saves. So that's it for my shooting. I've got a good valuable ranged in, but that's about it just now. So over to Brian, ambushes and reserves. So Brian's turn 1, but before we get started, I always forget my mortars 6 tubes is a reroll misses, so I re-rolled them because they're all misses, and then they all became hits, and then Brian saved them all. So still the same outcome, except they got pinned and they stayed pinned, even with the company command there. Brian didn't pop his ambush, but he got his reserves on, and he rolled for these guys, the Panzer 470Vs, but they came in over here. So he can start off from 16 inches at the corner and then dashed, cross-country dash to here. And he's now a blitz move away from getting a lot of shots of these guys. Not very good range. He's also got to be careful though, if he comes out of his current position, because I can get side shots on him. So maybe need some Panzer IVs to give him a bit of help. Otherwise, in terms of shooting, everyone here stayed on the ground. They've not really got any targets anyway, but using the company command, the Wesps, ranged in over here and managed to pin and kill one of the mortars, so they no longer got that reroll hits, so I don't have to remember it anymore. So over at turn 2. So what happened in that turn? Well, the mortars unpinned. The T-34s scattered. That also meant I lost the company commander as an observer. And then these guys kept moving up with a follow me. And everybody over here is staying put. I'm being cagey. We're going to try and out-cage each other in this game, I think. As you can see, most stuff's hiding. But I am making progress towards the objective. And I'm ranged down with my mortars if they can survive. I've got to watch that turn 6. You know, if I'm going to be cagey, I've got to watch it. Right, so in terms of shooting, the only thing that I could fire was the mortars, and they ranged in over here and actually managed to kill, on the third attempt, I managed to kill one of the heavy machine guns. And that's it. So, over to Brian for his turn 2. German turn 2, and we have an ambush. No reserves this turn. The Panzer 470V's just moved up, so they're out of sight of anything to the flank, but they can see down here. The infantry and heavy machine guns both didn't unpin, even with rerolls. So over to shooting, the Wesps ranged in again, but sorry, they were already ranged in, so they just rolled to hit. Got a couple of hits, but I managed my saves with rerolls. But then the ambush, 6 hits out of 8. So basically, 3 dead, 1 bailed. I managed to skip. They'll double up on the guys at the back. So the only guys at the front only took 1 hit each, but Brian's firepowers were with him, and he managed to knock out 3 and bail 1. So, oh dear, I'm in trouble. But good shooting from the Germans, and I only have 1 more platoon of Germans to consider, but I've got 1 less platoon of my own to consider. We'll see what happens now in my turn 3. Soviet turn 3. So in that turn, the unpinned, he remounted, did not run away. Company commander did run away, however, to behind the hill, and these T-34s have joined him. The guys dug in. Here, with the help of a blitz, the SU-100s have moved up. With a dash, these guys have moved up. So they're there to support them should the Panzer 470s and or the Panzer IVs intervene. In terms of shooting, there was nothing over here. I didn't bother firing them because it's kind of like rolling holy Mary dice, and we want to keep the game rolling over. These guys managed to range in on the second attempt. On the attempt was enough to get 1 infantry and 3 guns. Only hit 1 gun, so they are pinned. We'll see if they unpin, but I am ranged in there now. If I survive another turn of bombardment, but they are there now, so I've got a chance of whittling down those Pak 40s. So turn 3, game's starting to shape up a bit. Let's see what Brian can do, and he'll get his last reserves on for sure in his turn 3. So Brian's turn 3, starting with motivation. The Pak 40s, they unpinned. The infantry unpinned, the heavy machine guns didn't. Then he rolled a 3 for the arrival of his final platoon, which is anywhere in the back edge. So he brought them on here, tactically moved up. He couldn't get me on the side. I put myself so that I could not be seen. I couldn't be hit on the side by a normal tactical move. So he decided to go for the kill, move them up, and then bring them up to take on the Panzer 470s. The Pak 40s, 2 of them that could get out of the template. Well, only one of them had to go out actually. You might want to move that one back. One of them pull back. Let's see, I'll fix the other one for him. And then the survivors killed the survivors. They're all still alive. The guys that didn't move, just the 2 of them managed to clobber him. The Wesps killed 2 of them. And then this is a significant point. We'll see what happens next, because they went to blitz up onto the hill and, you know, being highly skilled, rolled a 2. So that meant they would need 7s to hit these guys, but he gave it a go, thinking if I hit them, I'm going to kill them, and they're not going to do much back to me, but it didn't happen. Over here he got 3 hits, 1 passed, 2 fails, and he managed to get a bail and a kill. So could have gone better, but depends if he gets back in. I don't have good line of sight on shooting these guys back. Can maybe only see the end guy from where I am, but these guys can maybe choice of targets, can maybe do some damage. And over here, if my mortars don't unpin, I won't be able to do anything to his artillery. I won't be able to do anything to Pak 40s with T-34-85s. So these guys are still ready to keep me in the game in terms of the objectives, but I need to start killing stuff. Soviet turn 4, so my goodness, people, my goodness. The mortars unpinned, the T-34-85 didn't get back in. So, I noticed I could get 1 with a blitz and a tactical, because they move quite fast, these guys. I could get 1 in range of the Panzer 470Vs. Then they guys were able to tactical over the hill. I forgot I could have blitzed them actually. Never mind. So they tacticaled over the hill so that I could get 1 past the side armour. And then the H100 stayed put. So in terms of shooting, the mortars at least killed something. Managed to get a Pak 40. This guy, with all that calculation and measuring, rolled a 1. This guy here to clobber on the side rolled a 3, and then him to shoot the Wesps in the open rolled a 2. And then over here, 2 fired up at the Panzer 470s and got a 5 and a 1. Needed a 6 because of range and concealment. These guys needed 5s because of concealment. Got 1 hit, got 1 kill. So I killed something, but I think I'm going to feel the pain next round when Brian clobbers me back. German turn 4, everybody unpinned. So really down to who was moving or not moving. So Brian decided they guys had to pull back. There was too much danger to their flank. And he thought, I'm just going to leave these 2 guys here because they can get shots on the Panzer 470s. Front armour 7 against anti-tank 11. Stand a good chance of doing some damage. So in terms of shooting, the Wesps, who have been really, really cool, managed to get 2 hits, but only 1 hit, sorry, but I managed both saves. The Pak 40s, the swines, killed the observer. So that's keeping the Pak 40s in the game, which is vital for Brian because he's holding that flank. And then in terms of shooting, the Panzer 470s got 3 hits, 2 in one, 1 in the other. The firepowers went, as you can see. The single hit ended up just as a bail. And then over here, Brian got 2 hits, and I managed to get 1 too long and 1 at short, 1 at long, 1 at short range for saving throws, and I saved 1, matched the other, but then it failed. Matched the other, sorry, but Brian failed his firepower, so he didn't cause any effect. So they're in a wee bit of bother where they are at the moment. So I've got to try and get him, and stay on the table, and then figure out what the hell I'm going to do. Soviet turn 5. The mortars unpinned. Didn't get back in. But at least they stayed. Didn't run away. In terms of movement, these guys dash the hell out of dodge. I just can't kill Pi 40s. They managed to get another hit, even at a penalty for no spotting team. But it failed at save and I failed my firepower. And then over here, the only thing that was of note is managed to kill 2 Panzer IVs. So I'm trying to lump together the remains of my tank force to go against the Panzer IV 70Vs. We'll see how well that goes. But I've got to be mindful of that objective there too, because I'm not getting that one. I've got to watch that one. Turn 6, which is next. Brian's turn 5, nothing really in the way of movement. The Pi 40s didn't unpin. Then in terms of shooting, these guys put 6 anti-tank 15 shots down his throat, so he's dead. The Wesps managed to get another mortar at last, so they're last standing and re-rolling hits. And he did a wee shooting scoot to prepare for what's coming next. I have, I would say maybe foolishly, allowed him to protect his flank, but you know, I couldn't kill these Pi 40s and they could smash me in the side over there. So over to me for my turn 6, where I have to be within 8 inches of this objective by the end of, still there rather, at the end of every turn, every of my opponent's turns from now on. Soviet turn 6, well, I just had to move up, guys, and anticipating a blitz and wipeout coming my way. But what happened in that turn, the surviving T-34 legged it, the Mortars unpinned and legged it. These guys moved up, they tactically moved up, tried some shots at the heavy machine guns, but got one hit and a save. So this is Brian's chance to give me a proper clobbering now. Lots of MG shots and artillery can come in here, and then what's going to happen here? So Brian's turn 6, the Pi 40 still didn't unpin. So in terms of movement, the only thing that happened was a successful blitz move by these guys. They're now behind the hill because they did a successful shooting scoot. And then in terms of shooting, the Wesps ranged in. So I'll just stick that over here. The Wesps ranged in, the heavy machine guns opened up, and the MG teams added to the carnage, and there's 2 bases left. And then these guys here, out of 6 shots, got 4 hits. 4 hits needing 4s. 1 bailed, 3 dead. So, it's pretty much game over, but we'll keep playing on, see if there's any kind of miracles going to happen. Soviet turn 7. So in terms of motivations, Scouts legged it. They bailed out. S100 got back in. In terms of movement, these guys moved up, so they were facing down there. They moved up so they could see over the hill. And then in shooting, they managed to shoot and kill 1 Wesp. In shooting here, they managed to, which is MG5, managed to get 1 off the company command. Then they assaulted, and they've got crafty, but I don't believe that applies to assault guys. They rolled 3 3s for one of their attacks, 5 and a 3 for the other one. So they killed 1 heavy machine gun, but Germans being Germans, they just, even with the company command, they seem to just run away. So they backed off, and these guys consolidated. I've got 3 teams within 8 inches of the objective still, and I'm behind the hill, not looking over. So the guys got choices to make, but I've got almost nothing left. So we'll see what Brian decides to do in his next turn. German turn 7, so first of all the West stayed put because they got direct fire options. The Panzer IV 70s were just going to blitz onto the hill and just try and kill this whole platoon and roll a 1. So he pulled them back over to here, and they managed to get a couple of hits got a kill on a bale. Heavy machine guns unpinned. Pack 40s we forgot about, they're all the way over there. Let's not forget about the pack 40s. I'll double check. Well, they're not going to have any shooting options this time, but let's not forget the pack 40s. And that's it really. Oh, sorry, they managed to get a hit in a bale. Not bad. That could destroy that platoon and pretty much end the game. We'll see what happens. Soviet turnips. Oh, that was all a bit mad. In terms of motivations, the bailed out guy didn't get back in there. The bailed out SU-100 did get back in. And then in terms of movement, because these guys got a good tactical, I managed to move them around the side to get side shots. 3 tanks. These guys did a blitz so they could be shooting at the Panzer 470s as well. As it turned out, there was one Panzer 470 left. After they fired, I got 2 hits, so I decided to turn them on the Wesps and killed one. And then I thought, what the hell, the pack 40s are just about to kill me anyway. I did an assault. I lost 1 tank on the way into counter fire, got bailed, and then 2 tanks made it in. And over a couple of turns of combat, I lost 1 T-34. Brian lost 2 bases infantry, but then he failed to motivate, so he ran away. But now's his chance to finish me off. I've got 2 tanks, one of which is bailed within 8 inches. So, and pretty much nothing left. So, maybe the pack 40s will do it. Over to Brian. He's got 2 interesting motivations to make too. There you go, folks. The end when it came was pretty damn quick. The pack 40s never had much luck, to be honest. They only managed to kill the bailed out T-34. The infantry, by the way, unpinned and then moved up into assault positions. The Panzer 470 stayed, by the way, as did the Wesp, and it killed the company commander, leaving just 1 bailed out tank over here, which they would take in the assault phase, leaving me 1 platoon of 2 tanks. 2 tanks left, folks. Call me 2 Tank Frank. That ain't going to win me any games. So there you go, a victory for the Germans. We'll go over to a recap next. So there you go, folks. It's a swathe of destroyed Soviet armour right the way across the battlefield. There's quite a few German tanks destroyed, however. At the end of the day, they survived with 1 Wesp and 1 Panzer 470, so the Soviets did dish out quite a lot of damage. So I suppose it maybe could have gone one way, maybe could have gone another way. But let's talk about the mission first, because it's a new mission. It's quite a tricky one. I think for the defender, I mean, you've got an objective stuck right out, so that's a bit of a risk. You can manage that risk though, and if your reserves are coming on quite early, which they are with immediate reserves, you should be able to manage it okay. I think it's more of a challenge for the attacker, because what do? Do you just gather everything up at the start, but then you're kind of coming across and you're not in one solid unit? It might be a mission that gets really dependent on terrain. A lot of missions are, but I think it's quite a tricky one for the attacker. No doubt we'll play it again, but let me know your thoughts if you've played it yourselves. And then when it comes down to the Battle of the Flat Tops, well, the Panzer 470Vs clearly came out on top. They absolutely hammered them in one turn, but that was down to terrain and to Brian skillfully using these hills. That's where his Panzer 470s went straight to. It gave him flank protection and allowed him to come up, come down, get himself out of trouble, get himself up where they could do a bit of damage. So I don't think it's necessarily a straight stand-up slogging match where we can compare the two. But I think it's clear to all what the advantages are. You know, these guys have got more shots, better armour, and they've also got the German dance thing, you know, the blitz and shoot and scoot. So I think they've got the edge, they cost more points. In good circumstances, though, these guys can be very effective. if they come up against anything where they get the jump on them, for instance, or anything which is not too hard hitting, then they'll smash them to bits. And we all know what these guys, they'll just smash pretty much everything except the heavy stuff to bits. And then again, folks, don't forget, what do you think about static anti-tank guns? If those were Mortars, they wouldn't have been pinned, they'd have been straight over here knocking out T-34s earlier, and maybe would have saved the loss of these guys. Or saying that, would the T-34s here not have ran behind the hill and just stood and fired back, because they know to hit them is straight to firepower, whereas these guys have got a 3-up save, you know. That's the decision I think we've all got to make with all the tank killers that are in the game now. But there you go, folks. Quite an interesting game, quite a bloody game, but a good victory for Brian and the Germans. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to everybody who subscribes, really appreciate it. If you don't subscribe, you might want to think about it, guys, to help us build up the channel. And please comment, like, share and do all the good things that helps the channel spread to other viewers.